Well, finally the crash bars have arrived for the 2024 model Suzuki V-Strom 250SX. Now, I've just give you a couple of still shots here of it. So when I brought it in here, it came by FedEx, so I think it only took a little bit over a week to come from India to here. So I thought I'd had a bit of weight in the box, so I thought I'd just put it on the scales, and the scales come in at around about 9 kilos. So it's seems like it could be a good unit. Once I open it up, I'll get a bit better idea in that line, but at this stage, you know, coming in at 9 kilos, say if it allowed, say 3 kilos of packaging, and you had a 6 kilo crash bar on it, you would think a 6 kilo one would do a bit of damage, you know, as far, or should I say, avoid a bit of damage, if the product is as good as the packaging. That's what we're up to. I'll just put this knife out of the way so no one gets done in here while I'm playing with that. I'll tell you what, they go to a fair bit of trouble to put all this together, so you would expect it's going to be a pretty quality item, because I rarely get them arriving like this. There we're going to fit the crash bars for the 2024 Suzuki V-Strom 250SX, and we've got a setup here now. So the crash bars itself, these are purchased over in India, and they range in price from anything from around about, I think about $480 up to about $550, including free postage. So here's what they look like in a two-part, and if we swing over here, once I've joined them together, there's a single version there. So that's what it ends up at. That's how it starts. There's a few other little pieces in between it, but of nothing importance. Of you know, the warrant putting it out here with these, they're just little adapter pieces of that on as it goes into different parts of the bike. So we'll go over to the bike now and check it out. Here's how I see it. There's no instructions come with it, although there was a diagram of the parts. So looking at the bike, I've got to get into this point here, and there's your rear engine mount. In that section there. So really, to get into that, I've got to take off this chain guard. Or front sprocket guard, so there's one bolt there. And there's another one down here. That'll give me a clear run into getting at the rear engine bolt. Up front, I think I have to remove this bolt here. Got a dry fit, so we'll check later on. Must admit that was a little bit tough to get off, but we got it. The crash bars on the bike there now, and I'd like to get here and become a big shot and just let you know how easy it was to put on, and no trouble whatsoever. You can get into it and knock it over really quick, but in all honesty that wasn't the case, and I must admit I was struggling a bit to put this together. So sure, I had a blow-up diagram of the parts involved, but seeing I'd never put on a crash bar before, and didn't have much of an idea how to put it together, where a instruction diagram would have come in handy for the price. You know, like I said, they're not cheap, $480 to $550. So you would expect for that sort of money you'd get some diagram, how to go about the steps of doing it, but it was just trial and error. And if I would have been put this video on the making of me putting it together, we'd be looking at a 3-hour clip now. That would be a little bit too much for you to look at, I think. So the best thing about it, I finally got it all together. It doesn't look too bad on the bike, and I think what I will do now is show you step by step, if you happen to buy this bar, how you'd go about it. Now the other thing I will mention too, even though it looks the part in that, It's not as if it's made in painted in good quality, say enamel type paint or powder coat or anything like that. So it does scratch easy if you look on that. But then again, it's a bar you're going to be out in the bush, and later on, you know, who knows, I might have to hook a winch or the lift on it and pull the bike up. So it's not going to matter that much on that. But more importantly, I've got the steps here now. If I was coming back to do it again, it's not a proposition for me to pull this apart and do it again. I might as well just tell you how to do it and do it in detail, and you should have no trouble following it after what I show you. So we'll start on step 1 now. Like I said, this might be the right way to do or might not work for me, but you know, you can make up your mind if you happen to buy one of these and go from there. So what I did first off, so the rear engine bolt has to come out. So there it is back here on the right hand side. So, and it's torqued on really tight, so the idea is just undo that one and pull that piece out. Now once you pull that out, what I did then was, just to make sure, I got the left hand bar, this one here, and it consists of the back here. It comes up around here and then swings around and goes into the top bolt on the front engine mount there. So what I did was pull the bolt out of here, put the other bar on the other side, pushed it across, the bolt I mean, pushed it right across. Now I come around to this side here and I fitted this bar rear mount only, and then put the nut on it just so it held in place. So in other words, I wasn't sure doing something like this whether or not I could cause any trouble with the rear engine mount, taking it out and all of a sudden the motor drops, and then I got a lot of trouble getting it lined up the back in. So the best way out of that one for me was just to follow that step. Step 2 was up here, top engine mount. So once again it was the same thing again, undo it, pull it out, pull the new bolt in. They're the new ones there, come with the kit, and while I'm there, connect or lift up and place either one of the engine bolts in place. So that means they'd be back like so. So that's the second part of it, and put the nut back on it, and then you've got that sort of sitting there, but you don't tighten them up real tight, you just tie them up until they're pretty close to bedding in, and then leave it there in a loose position, because you're going to have to move this, I found out, to get a bit of an adjustment up and down. Next up in your kit you'll find these 2 rods. So there they are down here in the bottom part of that frame, and they go to the bottom bolt here. So once again I'll swing back a bit and you'll see it, that one there, right near the bottom. So you've got 2 of those naturally, one each side, so you can attach those. What I did, tightened it up reasonably tight on this one here, and then just screwed it in here with all the screws and that you got. So that was that step there out of the way. So working on that, we've got this bar here, what I'm following now, already locked in. Over here, top part of the mount, also this sort of a stabiliser type one, back into this section here, and that's all we've got in that part there. So the next part we're going to move up into the framework. See this framework here? So where I made a mistake first time with it was I tightened the hex bolt under there and attached it to the frame, both sides, and then try to put it together that way. Now that didn't work because it was too hard to do. It was sort of lopsided and you just can't do it, and this is how you do that. So it's just a metal plate that comes with it, and there's holes in that behind in there, or pre-drilled holes. So you put that plate on first and screw them both together, and that way they're lined up. So if you do that one there, that helps that way and gets you out of a problem there. Now after you do that, it's there's one screw there at the back you've got to get at. See this one here on that frame rail, or your crash bar, that one there. So that was all right. I did those and I thought to myself, we'll see what happens after that, it should be ready to put on. But no, it wouldn't go on, so I'll tell you why. Okay, I'll need the torch here now. If you look there, right up the top, so you've got that nut sitting there now. But if you see up the top there, I actually had to get the file out, and I had to file that to give me a little bit of a clearance to be able to get that nut in. So, and that was the only way I could line it up there. So the idea is this will save you a lot of heartache if you're trying this for the first time. If you get there and sand that, or might be different from bike to bike, but if you get there and you file that down, put that in, then when you want to attach it, you put that bolt in first till it's almost bedded in. So I had to round her off up there. You'll see on the right hand side of it, it's got a little bit of concave in it. That's the area there to the end. You tighten that darker one there, one up the top there, bolts to the frame, tighten her up, and then you just follow your framework down. Remember, this is all still loose, and you put your 5mm bolt in either side, manoeuvre it around to the position you want, and then the only thing you got left after that is these sort of wings that sort of hold this one here together, and just either side of the radiator support down here, you got those two wings that fit either side. Now the right one's a little bit longer than the left one, so make sure when you put those on you get the right one, or you'll get there and say, oh, there's something wrong, it won't fit. But one's just a few millimetres longer than the other, and that's, when you're sitting on the bike, the right hand side one. So once you get that all under control, you can start tightening them up. And what I did then is I tightened up this framework at the front, and then just worked my way around them all till I got them in there, and they were sort of a nice, tight fit, you could say. Yeah, so next up for me is a bit of Loctite on all those ones, and then I can get out there. So here's a rough idea how it looks now with its crash bar on it. I think it looks alright, and like I said, it was, in my case, more challenging than what I thought it would be, but the main thing is I've got it on. I think it looks okay. Now, even if you want to fit them in this part here, I haven't done it yet naturally, but it comes with these sliders where you just bolt them in there like so. So I don't know whether they'd be worth keeping or putting on, or whether or not they'd affect you when you're out there riding, and in case you're going along and you go through a little narrow section and it hooks up on a rock. So that's something you could comment on if you've had that experience. So that would be about it. So like I said, a little bit more challenging than what I thought, and it may have been a lot easier if I would have had directions, but fact is I've got them on. They're sturdy, so easily good enough. I think later on, if the bike ever goes down, I've got to pull it up, and I think it looks a little bit more adventurous in the riding with it too. So all in all, something that looks like at one stage where I thought, bugger if I know I'll be able to put this together. Well, it's together now, it's on the bike, and the bike looks apart and it's ready to roll. So that's about it. But believe me, you wouldn't want to watch a clip trying to find out which parts go where to put it together, because you wouldn't have stayed around watching it for long. So at least this way you got a good run on how to go about it if you happen to buy these bars. So once again, thanks for tuning in, and catch you later.